Kia ora koutou. Today we are farewelling one of our long-serving members of staff, Mrs. Alison Dickinson. Mrs. Dickinson began her time at Palmerston North Boys High School in February 1982 when, as Miss Hardy, she was appointed to a position as a teacher of languages and English. In June 1986, she was appointed as the acting head of the languages department and was subsequently appointed as the permanent head of the languages department in January 1987. Mrs. Dickinson is passionate about the benefits of learning a second language, and this enthusiasm is evident in her teaching. She is keen to ensure that young men studying languages have the opportunity to learn to see things from the perspective of another culture. In recent years, she has worked tirelessly to provide opportunities for students to be involved with overseas language and culture tours to France and Germany. These experiences have provided the young men involved with a fantastic opportunity to develop their language skills and broaden their understanding of the culture of those countries. For some of these young men, it has been a life-changing experience. Mrs. Belton, a language teaching colleague of Mrs. Dickinson's, commented, "Alison is an accomplished and passionate teacher of French and German. Through her role as HOD of languages, she has been a real advocate for both strengthening and increasing the profile of second language acquisition in the classroom and the many benefits derived from language learning. Her continual support to her colleagues in the languages department has aided in the development of contemporary curricular programs and resources in French, German and Japanese." One of Mrs. Dickinson's most notable achievements during her time as Head of Languages, says Mrs. Belton, was the development of both the French and German language and cultural tours. These were meticulously planned, month-long tours, each of which took 3 years of organisation and consultation with staff, parents and many outside agencies. The result each time ensured the best possible experiences abroad for all involved, students and staff alike. Mrs. Dickinson most certainly will leave an indelible impression upon her department and her students for many years to come. In 1989, Mrs. Dickinson's expertise and enthusiasm as a languages teacher was recognised when she was awarded a Goethe Institute scholarship to attend a language course for teachers of German in Berlin. In 2015, she was awarded a secondary teacher's sabbatical in recognition of her long service and expertise, and used this to further her language skills and cultural experiences with overseas travel. While language teaching is undoubtedly Mrs. Dickinson's passion, she's also made valuable contributions to the English department. She was involved in the Learning Support Program and worked with groups of students who required additional support to develop their knowledge and skills in English. Mrs. Dickinson has also been heavily involved in our co-curricular program, for many years as the teacher in charge of hockey. In this important role, she was responsible for organising all aspects of hockey in the school, a significant undertaking. She also managed the Year 9 Specials hockey team, along with involvement in a range of co-curricular activities throughout her time with us. To be a teacher for 40 years is special enough, but to spend those 40 years in one school, our school, is remarkable. There have only been 9 rectors in the school's history, and I am Mrs. Dickinson's 4th. 40 years of taking roles, marking tests and exams and planning, developing courses to accommodate yet another change to the curriculum, and with another on the horizon, Mrs. Dickinson's timing is probably spot on. Countless young men over those 40 years have benefited from Mrs. Dickinson's expertise and encouragement, and from the opportunities she has been able to provide. Our school is losing a much valued staff member with Mrs. Dickinson's departure. And so we wish Mrs. Dickinson all the very best for a well-deserved retirement, and hope that at some stage when the world may return to normal, she and Mr. Dickinson will be able to undertake more of the overseas travel they are so passionate about. And before I hand over to Mrs. Dickinson for her address to our school community, I have a special presentation to make you. The academic stole is presented to long-serving staff members who have made a significant contribution to the academic life of Palmerston North Boys High School, who have been committed to upholding high academic standards and who have worked tirelessly to raise student achievement within their curriculum areas. Mrs. Dickinson has certainly done that throughout her service to the school, and I would now like to invite her forward now to be presented with a Boys High School academic style.
Bonjour, buenos dias, buongiorno, guten Tag, kia ora, konnichiwa, ni hao, malolele, talofa. Regardless of the greeting, once you enter the gates of Palmerston North Boys High School, you become part of the Palmerston North Boys High School community. We are like a packet of licorice all sorts. We are different sizes, colours, have different layers and tastes, but we're all part of this community, its values and expectations. It hardly seems like 40 years ago that I walked through these gates and began my teaching career here. I had just returned from teaching English in New Caledonia and received a telegram the Saturday before school started at the beginning of February in 1982, informing me that I would be starting work at Palmerston North Boys High School on the Monday. It was certainly a rush to get everything organised in 48 hours, especially as finding accommodation at the time was almost impossible. The boys' high that welcomed me was quite different to how it is today. The old main building had just been demolished, leaving the front of the school looking like a wasteland. The favourite detention at the time was picking up buckets of stones to clear up the area for the new administration block, which was open on the 1st of November in 1983. Needless to say, behaviour was better at this time, as picking up the stones was hard work, so no one wanted to be given this as a detention. For my first 2 years, E13 was a temporary staff room, and prefabricated buildings, where the new gym now stands, served as the administration block. I can clearly remember writing reports in E13 when teachers had to write them by hand. The report forms were written in triplicate on carbon-infused paper. The head of music, Mr. Bevan, aka Beethoven, had a pile of report forms which he was writing on. Unfortunately, thanks to the carbon-infused paper, his comments went right through half the pile, and it was very difficult for the rest of us to write our comments because we could not see what we were writing. I think 193 words was the longest comment I could squeeze into the comment box, thanks to my small, neat writing, which led to me becoming a recorder for the swimming and athletic sports before we had computers to help us. Since the new administration building, there have been other property developments too. When plans were made in the 1990s to build the Spear Centre, where the old outdoor school baths used to be, my classroom had to be moved to the other side of the school. I had spent a year in D3 in 1982 and then got promoted to P1, which was where the tennis pavilion is now, much to the annoyance of Mr. Errol Brookie, a senior master at the time, whose room I had taken over. He used to pop in from time to time to make sure that I was looking after his room. My room and the one next to it were moved to D block to become part of D6 to D9 to make way for the Spear Centre. So I'd been full circle. Then there was the new gym and the indoor pool, followed by T block, a mezzanine floor and extension to the hall, and more recently, the new art block. A rebuild of D1 to 5 was due to start this year, but because of circumstances beyond the school's control, this project will take longer than hoped to come to fruition. It will certainly make a difference once D block is rebuilt, as more new P block classrooms built by the construction students join P5. The old prefabs have certainly served their purpose, still being used at least 45 years after they were built. When people ask me how long I've been teaching at Palmerston North Boys High School, they are often shocked when I reply, 40 years. Some say I deserve a gold medal, others that it must be really boring. In fact, it does not seem that long. Every year your classes are different, and I have been lucky to teach a number of subjects: English, English to Learning assisted classes, extra English, English for foreign students, French, German, Japanese, reading and social studies. There has actually been no time to get bored. I do not see teaching as a job or career. but rather as a vocation, because I became a teacher as I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to share my love of languages with my students, to break down cultural barriers, and to encourage them to embrace new cultures and different perspectives in order to appreciate and value the diversity in society, as well as to be a useful skill to put on their CV. I have always considered myself to be a pioneer. In 1982, when I started teaching here, there were only 10 women out of a staff of 68 teachers. The attitude to women was very different to that of today. We had to work 10 times harder than the male staff to be even considered as decent teachers. Over the years, I have seen a number of women come and go and get upset by the attitude of some of the male staff towards them. But fortunately, this has changed. The men finally realised that gender does not affect the ability to be a good teacher, and that rather than equality between male and female teachers, equity is the key if we are to prepare our young men for life out in the real world. Today, there are 30 women in a teaching staff of 113. Somehow, there does not seem to be much progress over 40 years, with only 20 more female teachers. That is only one more every second year. Yet, attitudes continue to change. I am the longest serving female teacher at Palmerston North Boys High School from 1982 to 2021. The longest serving female head of department, 1987 to 2021. The first teacher of English to international students in 2002. And the first language teacher to organise French and German tours to Europe from 2011. I was also teacher in charge of hockey for 27 years, from 1990 to 2016. At our peak, we had 15 hockey teams. I have served under 4 rectors, each with their own skill set and style. Mr. Eric White, an excellent tennis player, employed me in 1982. Mr. David Sims, a rugby aficionado, from 1987 to 2002. Mr. Tim O'Connor, an excellent hockey player whom I also taught, from 2002 to 2012. And Mr. David Bovey, the Master of Innuendo and Vocabulary. Over the years, I've also taught a number of staff members English, languages or social studies, and even some of their children. I did not plan on staying here so long, but sometimes that is the way things work out. However, I certainly do not regret my decision to continue to teach at Palmerston North Boys High School. I feel honoured and privileged to have had the opportunity to be part of such a school which has high expectations, valuing humility, integrity, respect, industry, pride and courage, and whose mission is to create educated young men of outstanding character. My husband often says that he can tell when a young man he meets went to Palmerston North Boys High School or not, because it is evident in his manners and the way he behaves and approaches life. It is true, you too are fortunate to be part of such a school. We are not all top academics, sportsmen, musicians, artists, craftspeople or linguists, but we all have talents of some kind. Whatever the achievement, I take pride in the success of my students and always enjoy prize giving when these successes are formally celebrated. Whether it is a student sharing his excitement at having finished reading his first book, a Year 9 student confidently introducing himself in French or German, a student studying at an overseas university who is enjoying his life abroad, or an old boy working at Adidas headquarters in Germany who has used his French language skills to learn German, or former students who acknowledge how their second language has helped them to find a job that they are passionate about and how they have come to understand the true wealth another language provides. I feel proud that I have been part of this process. Over the years, there have been many and varied successes. The number of students being awarded a New Zealand Association of Language Teachers certificate because of their excellent results in the NCEA examinations continues to increase, and the results in the internationally recognised French Del Scolaire exams for years 10 to 13 that test listening, reading, speaking and writing continue to attract talented students who gain outstanding results. 2 former students won the National Alliance Française French oral competition, which included prizes of a trip to New Caledonia. Another is studying music in Germany. One student started studying medicine, but decided it was not for him and followed his passion, French literature, for which he gained a scholarship to study for his doctorate at Auckland University. The possibilities are endless. Keep striving to do your best. I believe that a job worth doing is worth doing well, and that has always been my philosophy throughout my teaching career. There is great satisfaction in a job well done. Don't take the easy way out, for there is little satisfaction in copying and pasting something from a website and handing it in as your own work. Take the time to do the work yourself. Accept the challenge. You may be surprised what you learn during the process. Never be afraid to stand by your principles or to admit that you have made a mistake. We all do from time to time. Make the most of the opportunities that Palmerston North Boys High School offers you. Set your sights high and strive to achieve your goals. Make sure that you have a plan A, B, C and D, because life does not always follow our plans. You may not get accepted into the university course, apprenticeship, team or job that you want, so you have to work harder to make it happen. Keep your options open. Accept an opportunity to upskill and never be afraid to make the most of your talents or to celebrate your successes. You never know what you are capable of until you try. Remember the school motto, nihil bone sine labore, nothing achieved without hard work. As I was looking back at the 39 Palmerstonians I have in my cupboard, I saw many photos that brought back memories. Colleagues who had moved on to other schools or jobs, students who had represented their country in sports, the administrative staff, who are so vital for a school to function properly. One of the events was the 1985 40-kilometre walk, ride, bike fundraising challenge from the school hall to Ashurst, around through El Kauteri and back to the school hall, in which the whole school was involved. We all got sponsored per kilometre and set out early on the marathon effort. It was indeed a challenge. Some people even picked up rubbish along the way to clean up the roads. Others sat down to nurse their blisters. There was great satisfaction and relief when you rounded the corner into Featherston Street and checked in at the hall at the end. It was a good team fundraising effort, which was quite different to selling raffle tickets as we do these days. The Palmerstonian photos also reminded me of the 1980s, when we had time to have fun and enjoy French and German without the pressure of assessments and gaining credits. We used to have French and German days and combined activities with Palmerston North Girls High School and other schools from as far afield as Wairoa to New Plymouth. Groups of students would write their own scripts and perform their plays on the stage. Even a group of Year 12 students performed the can-can in Palmerston North Girls High School kilts. Professor Sean Hendy, a COVID-19 modeller from Auckland University, included. Unfortunately, the NCA system has made assessments more important than the learning, and credits more important than enjoyment and skill development. 40 years of memories are too many to include in this address. I have met many interesting and talented people, both staff and students. I have had the opportunity to lead French and German language and culture tours, during which I saw students grow in confidence and fall in love. I have lost several students and 4 colleagues. However, it is with a sense of pride mixed with a tinge of sadness that I stand here today as Head of Languages for the last time. I have thoroughly enjoyed my 40 years here and still remain passionate about teaching and learning languages, but I'm ready for some well-earned R&R. I will be back relieving next year as I wean myself off teaching, as it is unhealthy to suddenly stop teaching after such a long period of time. I also want to be able to travel again, as there are many more places to visit and explore. I would like to thank you all for being part of my 40-year journey at Palmerston North Boys High School and wish you all the best for your future endeavours. It has been an absolute pleasure to share my passion of languages and to see students grow in their understanding of and confidence in their chosen language. I know that I am leaving the Languages Department in good hands with Mrs. Christina Belton leading the team, Mr. Max Ramirez becoming a fully fledged teacher, and new German and Japanese teachers. Thank you all for being part of my story. I hope that your life stories are as memorable as mine. He taonga ngā reo katoa. All languages are to be treasured.